Okay. My name is Olivia. Should I say I'm your cousin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm Virginia's cousin. Yeah.
Yeah, alright, so we'll start
Okay.
at the beginning. Okay. So we'll start. Okay, so when did you first start caring about, like, clothing and style? Yeah.
I think it was probably junior year of high school. I think once because freshman year was just like all about fitting in, like the white Converse, the leggings, the North Face. Like freshman year was all about like fitting in. Sophomore year was weird because I don't know, I feel like I looked like a mom. I chopped my hair really short. I was wearing like just black jeans and like a turtleneck every day. And then junior year, when I left my house, I don't know, I was going to thrift stores more, and I was looking, online at like certain websites and just kind of like mirroring fashion of, different styles. And I mean, I went way overboard. Like there are some looks that I did that are just like too much. But yeah, I think like around junior year was when I started to, yeah, that was a lot.
All right, so what are some of your biggest like style inspirations?
Okay, so I really didn't think I had any, and then I started thinking. I actually saw a movie. It was my junior year. I think this is how it started. I saw Lady Bird by Greta Gerwig, I think her last name is.
Yeah.
And it was like the first like indie film, something like Off the Radar by like Studio A24 that I was like, I really like resonated with me, and I loved her style. Like her Doc Martens, it was like her, her jeans were like wide leg. She, dyed her hair with like Kool-Aid. I never did that, but it was just like her necklaces, her jewelry, her style. It was like contemporary, modern, but also edgy and like indie kind of. So I saw that. And
Okay, so where do you like to like get your clothes?
I haven't gone shopping in a while just with everything that's going on, but normally thrift stores. I mean, Urban's always like, obviously, but because they're more pricey, I would say more like thrift stores. And just kind of, I stopped growing, so just the stuff that I've always had, kind of, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Okay, so like what are some of your like favorite like pieces to wear?
Like an outfit?
Yeah, like outfits.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to wearing outfits, I normally like to wear black. So normally like black jeans and then like a black sweater normally. But I also like to wear tank tops. So just like a natural like tank top, and then sometimes like today like a jean jacket over it, and then pants and boots. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's good. Okay, so when did you decide to get the septum piercing, and like what were the reactions that you got?
Okay, so I've actually always wanted a nose piercing for like the longest time, but I knew that once I got it, my mom would be really unhappy with me, and I also didn't want it to get infected if it was just kind of like a stud. So I was looking up septum piercings, and I decided to get it one day. I was just like bored, and I wanted to kind of like elevate my style. I think I've always kind of been more of like a grunge type of dresser, and my makeup, like I never would wear like heavy makeup, but my clothes would reflect that kind of like heavy dark scent, if that makes sense. So I just felt like the septum piercing would just tie it all together, and so I just went with my friend. I got it done, and it's nice because I can like easily flip it up. But I also got it because even like dating and just in relationships and also like friendships, when it comes to like your appearance, it obviously like shows who you are, and it's your first impression, and in like 10 seconds somebody can decipher, who you are, and in a sense, just by looking at you. So I think that me getting this just kind of solidified my personality and like my look, and now if people approach me, this is like me, so I know they're not they're approaching me because they either think I'm cool or like interesting, or they like the way I look, and I know that they're not like judgmental. Whereas before, I feel like it's not really making sense, but I feel like this really does kind of like solidify my personality, and so people that I will be attracted to, like if they don't accept my septum piercing, which is silly, it's just like one thing about me, then like you shouldn't be friends with me or be a part of my life because, I feel like your appearance and the clothes that you wear show who you are, so.
So my name's Michelle Sapp. I'm Virginia's mom, and I'm also an interior designer.
Okay, so when did you first start caring about clothing and style?
So that is a great question. I would say my earliest memories of caring about clothing would be probably pre-kindergarten. I think that's because my mom was very fashionable, so I admired her style from a young age. I remember going shopping with her, going shopping with my grandmother, caring about coordinating things, which is probably why I'm in this industry today, because it is a fashion business as well for our homes. I remember the very first dress that I wore to kindergarten, and it was a little white dress with the red bow and paper doll, little cutout paper doll outfits all over it. So I would say fashion's been important to me from a young age. As I got older, I was required to wear a school uniform. I went to a private school, and I remember a series of uniforms. The first one was sort of a royal blue and gray plaid, and then when I got to high school, I went to a private girls' school. I had to wear a black watch plaid uniform skirt with either a white blouse or a blue blouse, and it was very regimented and dictated. And as a result of that, when I didn't have to wear a uniform, I had a lot of fun with fashion. I loved dressing up outside of school. I had friends who also appreciated fashion and was real involved in a group in high school for a local department store where teenagers from various schools in the city and the suburbs would come together and model for the department store and put on a fashion show. And students were involved in every level from photography to makeup and hair and modeling, actually presenting the clothing. And it was called the Teen Board. It was for the Joseph Horn Company back in the day in Pittsburgh. And we had a lot of fun with it. And then when I got to college, it was, no holds barred. So I could wear whatever I want, wear my hair however I wanted. And, I remember getting a Louise Brooks bob before I entered my freshman year of college. And, enjoyed trends, and my junior year studied abroad at the University of London, where again fashion was very important. It was a major city, and there were lots of opportunities to explore fashion and shop and just have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, and to this day it's still important to me.
Okay, so what are some of your biggest style inspirations?
So in terms of individuals who have inspired me over the years, I would say Princess Diana. When I was growing up, she was a major fashion icon. Before that, just people that I admire, and to this day I still admire, just based on photographs of them, film clips, would be Jackie Kennedy Onassis, Audrey Hepburn, Coco Chanel. More recently, I would say someone like Anna Wintour, someone who is just very timeless and classic in her approach to fashion, and obviously knows the industry because of her remarkable career as an editor.
Okay, so where do you like to get your clothes?
So some of my favorite places to shop would be a mix, really. I think it's fun to mix high and low in anything, whether it's in home furnishings home fashions, and clothing. So I would say at the top of my list would be Ted Baker. I love Ted Baker, love to go to the Ted Baker stores in New York, but I've ordered Ted Baker online. I've also bought it at Nordstrom, so definitely at the top. I like resort wear. I like seasonal clothing. I love to switch it up. So some of my favorite resort lines would be Lilly Pulitzer, for instance, Tommy Bahama's fun, Gretchen Scott, which I discovered when I was on a trip to Charleston with some college friends. One of my close friends lives in the city, and that was my first introduction to Gretchen Scott. And then I discovered the line again when I was in Naples, Florida, because there are only a few locations. But again, because it's so accessible online as well as most offerings are, it's easy to come by. I would say I've also mixed things from Target in with, some of those higher end pieces that I have. I love just to wear jeans sometimes, and a button down. I like to layer as well, and I love to accessorize. So very similar to how I design my rooms with layers. That's how I love to dress as well.
Okay, so why do you dress the way that you do?
So that's a great question. I would say I dress the way that I do because ultimately it's a reflection of who I am. So, and how I feel on any given day. So I, as I said earlier, am an interior designer, and the way that I present myself is an indication or an indicator, I think, to potential clients of how I might be able to put together their spaces. So if I present myself in a way that is appealing to them, first of all, it's appealing to me, and then, ultimately to a client, it's a way for me to establish trust in them at the outset of our meeting, and eventually develop that into a designer-client relationship. And if this client or potential client appreciates my style, my taste, then there's that level of confidence that's established that suggests that I can create a room for them that they're comfortable in, because ultimately our spaces are reflections of our personal taste as well. But I do like to dress for my profession. I also like to dress for my clients, and I can also mix that up a little bit, which I love. So if I know that I'm working with a client who might be a little more reserved, then that is reflected in my attire. If I have a client who's a lot more fun and carefree, maybe it's it's a youthful client, then I like to dress to mirror that as well. So I find that fashion helps me professionally to establish lasting relationships with clients as well, and initially to gain their trust, and ultimately to bond over our common interest in furnishings and the outcome of their space.
Okay.